Well, I think it's a helpful paper. I think also it's a sensible paper because it's listening to the voices from Northern Ireland in relation to what will work and what won't work. It does deal with some of those big issues around should there be a border in the Irish Sea. Of course, for us, that was a red line, and that putting barriers internally within the United Kingdom was never going to work. So we're pleased that that is ruled out in the document. And it also, of course, talks about the fact that there's to be no physical infrastructure at the land border between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. So we welcome that. We think it's a sensible paper. When I met the Irish Prime Minister back in June of this year, I said we wanted a sensible Brexit, and I think this is a good start to a sensible Brexit. Well, I think it's important to reflect on how the Republic of Ireland reacts to this document because, of course, they're on the other side, if you like, very much in relation to how we take this forward. Of course, the other European Union countries will have a view in relation to this, but I think that they will be listening very carefully to what the Irish Prime Minister and his team have to say about the document. So I hope that there is a positive reaction to this from the Irish Prime Minister and from his team, and that we can move forward from there. They recognise the very particular circumstances of Northern Ireland. That has been the dialogue that we have heard from them since the referendum took place last June. And I hope that we can build on that and listen, that they will listen to the Irish Prime Minister because, of course, as you say, he has a very particular reason for this to work. Nobody wants to see a return to the borders of the past. And when we talk about a return to the borders of the past, of course, during the 70s and 80s, those watchtowers and what have you were there for a very particular reason. And that particular reason was around security and around stopping terrorism. And we don't have that now here in Northern Ireland. So what we want to see is a workable border that works for business and works for those of us who live very close to the border. Well, none of us want to jeopardise the peace process. No, I don't think it's a tactic. I think, as I've said, it's a very sensible paper. It's a paper that reflects what people here on the ground want to see happening, a frictionless border, a border that works, trade happening in a very meaningful way, using all of the new technology at our disposal and recognising the special history and geography that we have here in Northern Ireland. Who says anyway that the technology needs to be at the crossing point? You know, we can clear goods long before they reach the border, just as we clear goods in sea journeys before they reach the ports. So there are ways to deal with this, and as I have said, we're looking for solutions to these issues, and I hope that others will come looking for solutions as well instead of talking about barriers. There will be checks. There are already checks happening in relation. People talk about a border now without checks. Of course, that's not correct. Checks happen at the moment when animals, for example, live animals come across the border. There are welfare checks in relation to those issues. So it's wrong to say that checks don't happen at the moment. Checks do happen at the moment, but it's all about proportionality. It's all about making sure that trade flows in a proportionate way. And it's about making sure that what happens here in Northern Ireland is recognised right across Europe. Brexit wasn't just about taking back control. It was about, well, it was also about sovereignty. It was also about the UK's place within the world, having a global UK that could compete right across the world. And I think that that's very much what we want to do. I mean, one of the reasons why I voted to leave the European Union was in relation to the amount of regulation that happened on business. As the former business minister here in Northern Ireland, I wanted to free up businesses so that they could do business with the rest of the world. And sometimes I think when we talk about leaving the European Union, inevitably we talk about the challenges, but there are huge opportunities for firms here in Northern Ireland as well. And I think a lot of those firms are pragmatically looking at those opportunities, and they want to move ahead. Well, I don't think it's going to be wide open. I think there are going to be, as I've already said, checks put in place to deal with all of those issues. There will be technological checks to deal with those issues. And as well as that, as you know already, we are in outside of Schengen at the moment, not just the UK, but Ireland as well. So we already deal with those issues on a British Isles basis. So it's wrong to say that we are moving now to a situation that will have no checks and balances. Before the referendum took place, I understand UK officials in terms of immigration were speaking to Dublin immigration officials to deal with securing our borders and to making sure that everything worked into the future. So it's wrong to say that we're going to have no control over our borders. And I also think it's wrong to say that everybody voted just in relation to that. There were many reasons why people voted to leave the European Union, and I've given you an example of another reason.